So, greetings, everybody, and welcome to Global Speakers Talk, where stories resonate, ideas thrive, and connections ignite. At Global Speakers Talk, our mission is simple yet profound: to provide a global platform for voices that deserve to be heard, stories that deserve to be shared, and ideas that deserve to thrive. We have successfully produced more than 2,000 virtual live events beginning in 2020, and it's just getting better. Hi, my name is JB Herrera, and I'm the founder and CEO of Insight Driven Business. Our mission is to augment human experience with AI technology, and I'm dedicated to uniting people, knowledge, and wisdom to foster a better world. So welcome to the Power of Awakening. Today's online summit is designed to help you unlock your inner power and embrace your fullest potential. This event brings together some leading minds in the realms of personal development, mindfulness, and transformative practices, all dedicated to guiding you on your path towards personal and growth and enlightenment. Now, let me set the stage for our speakers today by having you consider the story of the phoenix, a mythical creature that symbolizes renewal and rebirth. In Greek mythology, the phoenix is often depicted as a magnificent bird with vibrant plumage and a golden halo around its body resembling the sun. And according to legend, the phoenix lives for several hundred years and then dies by bursting into flames. And then it's reborn from the ashes, emerging rejuvenated and destined to live again. This cycle of ending and rebirth occurs in perpetuity, making the phoenix a symbol of immortality and spiritual rebirth. Now, just as a phoenix rises from its ashes, so too must we embrace the challenges that come our way, allowing them to forge and shape us into stronger and more resilient beings. Now, I don't know about you, but I've had several phoenix experiences in my lifetime. Different phases, different careers, different friends, different locations even. And each time was fraught with some form of fear, angst, and trepidation. But let's face it, personal growth is not a journey marked by ease and comfort, but by overcoming the trials and tribulations that life invariably throws at us. Each of us face challenges, and these are opportunities to test our limits and expand our horizons. And the satisfaction that is derived from overcoming these obstacles is profound. It offers a sense of accomplishment and a boost in self-efficacy. So today's summit, The Power of Awakening, is designed to inspire you to rise above the everyday and find satisfaction in the continuous journey of self-improvement. So join us today, whether you're here to help yourself on that personal journey or learn about things for everybody else around you to help them. Today's The Power of Awakening is your gateway to becoming the architect of your own destiny. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's begin. Our first speaker is Daniel Kilburn. He's a retired U.S. Army Senior Infantry Drill Sergeant, father, grandfather, esteemed author, and a distinguished coach. With over 30 years of experience, Daniel has dedicated his career to enhancing leadership, communications, and disaster management planning. His commitment stems from a deep understanding of the impacts of natural disasters, driving him to deliver top-tier solutions for safety and risk aversion. He's recognized by the U.S. Army for his exemplary skills in instructional design and leadership. Daniel has proven his dedication to mission accomplishment time and time again. As America's 5-star leadership coach, he specializes in fostering open communications, building resilience, and enhancing leadership qualities. Daniel's approach involves preparing individuals, families, and organizations to engage in the tough conversations, to establish concrete plans, and achieve their aspirations. So today, Dan is going to share insights on how to dream, deliver effective strategies and leadership and disaster planning. More than that, his guidance is not just professional, it's really his duty, his responsibility and obligation to tell us the truth and to help us face the challenges that we have today. So please welcome Daniel Kilburn. Daniel.
That you're offering me to share my word with your audience.
My pleasure. Thank you, Daniel. Welcome.
So where do you want to get started?
Oh, let's go. Let's talk a little bit about how you approach this new change, how we awaken ourselves, how do we prepare ourselves for these deep conversations?
Well, If we look at the concept of being awakened or awakening, if we just look at the definition, it's becoming aware of something, being educated, being brought to a truth of life that somehow impacts us. And if we're going to continue moving forward, then the idea is to take action. Now, I started my growth in the military. I was much younger, and as we are younger people, we usually have an idea that there's something better or something greater in the world for us to do. And I was not unusual on that with most of my friends. So I sought my own personal self-development and transformational leadership exploration at that time. And it's funny that you have the power of awakening as the theme in your title here, because there's actually a book with that exact same title by the astound Dr. Wayne Dwyer. But I just thought I'd throw that out there because it's interesting. Now, if we were to move forward into looking at being awakened, there's several places we can be. In our personal lives, obviously our health, relationships are the standard places. But I dive deeper down into emergencies and natural disasters, because those are unique spots in an individual's life. We really should be awakened and have a plan. You should know what you're doing so you don't become the victim. And in order to do that, I like to use three things. Call it my three things. The three P's. Have a plan. Be playful. And be perseverant. If you don't have a plan, someone's going to have a plan for you. And you might not like that plan. Oftentimes we're moving through something that's outside of our wheelhouse or outside of the lane. We're unsure. By being playful, it helps us find our way over the roadblocks, through the doors, around the walls that we find blocking us. And when those walls, those walls, those speed bumps hit us, be persevering keeps us stepping forward so that we can accomplish whatever our plan was that we set in motion.
I love that. That's totally awesome. So when you've done this in the past, disaster planning is also something that my wife and I have been trained on. Living in Northern California, we're by the earthquakes in San Andreas Fault, and so we believe in the same things, that you need to pre-play what these likely things are, because if you don't, then guess what's going to happen? Eventually, you're going to have a challenge, and you're not going to know how to react. So when you're putting together these plans, Daniel, tell me, what are things that you might want to consider for yourself, not only in disasters, but in daily life?
Well, if we look at disasters, based on my military foundation, there's three things to look at: time, distance, and shielding. And these can all still go back in certain parts of our civilian relationships. One, if you're going to avoid a disaster or an emergency, you don't want to be there when it happens, obviously. Right. That also brings up the distance, depending on what it is. The farther you are from it, the better the odds are you will be less impacted by it. And then thirdly, depending on what the emergency or disaster might be, if you have something shielding you from it, you will not be impacted also. So how do we take this into our personal life, our relationships, our business programs? Well, they come very well the same way, and that's our plan. We have to have that plan. Every plan has to have the red team who's going to look at how it's going to break. So no matter how good we think it is, how wonderful we think this plan's going to be, how impacted our ego is on the creation of our little baby, we have to realize that at some point in time it's going to be thrown out with water. And that's where we identify what we can do if and when there's a hiccup, so we continue moving forward.
Awesome. Interesting. So from a leadership perspective, for those of us that are out here starting businesses and getting things going, How can we apply that to our leadership skill sets?
Well, it depends on what we're leading in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the same time, it does not depend on what we're leading. We here in this room right now are leaders in one way or another.
Right.
Everybody on this planet is a leader in one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
One of the unique things about this, the vast majority of us don't realize it, do not understand it. Now, those of us that do should accept the responsibility for what we do. As a leader, we are 100% responsible for the outcome 100% of the time.
Mm. Interesting. So let's talk about that for a second. There's a distinction that can be made between results and outcomes, right? Because I completely agree with you. We're always responsible for the outcome emotionally that would happen, the reaction that we have to whatever we do. Those are the consequences. But sometimes it's like a baseball player, a pitcher. When he throws the ball, he has absolute control over everything right up until the moment that ball leaves his hand. Once it leaves his hand, it's out of his control. And the result, whether the guy hits the ball or swings and whiffs or hits a home run and wins the World Series, that really is outside of the control. The result, the hit, is outside of his control. So outcome and results are different. How can you identify for people the need for them to take responsibility for that outcome? I'm sure that probably leads to some difficult conversations that you have with people.
You're absolutely sometimes there some difficult conversations. When we talk to an individual, when I'm talking to one of my clients or coaching people, what I try to do immediately is define their level of commitment, responsibility, and how far they're willing to go to achieve whatever the projected outcome might be. Through the course of our coaching or event, we do what I call a after-action review. It's a military thing. Consistently program to see where we're moving based on the initial plan.
Mm-hmm.
How it's being deviated, how we're making adjustments to bring it back online, or if we discovered that we were wrong in the first place, the leader step up and do different. And it's a process that most people do accept, who accept the responsibility for what they're doing and whatever that outcome might be.
Mm.
And as you said early, outcomes and results not always be the same thing.
Right.
The outcome we want might not be what we get, but the result could be better. You never know.
Mm.
But as long as we keep moving forward, recognizing what's going on, take the opportunity to adjust or pivot, then normally we'll get what we want out of the project.
That's awesome. So can you identify for us one or two different examples that people have utilized some of these skill sets to overcome those massive flameouts, as we've all had, and have come back from that? Can you describe that process for us?
Well, when I'm talking with someone and they're in a what we'll call a breakdown, their program or their plan is not coalescing like they would like. The idea is to look at what is going wrong. Let's see, are we on that path we chose to be on?
Mm-hmm.
Are we accepting responsibility? Because one of the things I see a lot of times is people pass off responsibility to that virtual assistant or that technician or what have you. They're not accepting it for themselves. And once we identify whatever is out of line, we do what we can to identify how to bring it back online and see if we can get moving forward.
So would you say that's kind of like the difference between delegating responsibilities and abdicating responsibility?
Well, there is a difference. I'm not a techie geek. If I was going to want to film a movie, I would hire the people that know how to do it.
Right.
I don't. On the other hand, how valuable is my time, and depending on what we have to accomplish, it is the best thing to delegate that authority to other people who might be more competent or capable, and let them move forward with what they have. At the same time, it's good to recognize that when they do succeed, reward them for it. Let everybody know they succeeded.
Right, right. That's awesome. This is a subject that is really near and dear to my heart, because I know that there are many thousands of, if not millions, of small businesses around the world who are struggling to really get through these types of issues, and they need to dig deep and really come through that angst, that fear, so that they can awaken themselves to take themselves to that next step. What would you say is the one thing that they need to do, the very first step that they have in your experience to begin that journey of awakening?
The desire. They should absolutely have the desire to, when we say become awakened, or become educated, or competent or qualified to look at something and see it through. It has a lot to do with that personal intent. What is my intent? You folks have an intent to have these miniature summits. You put together the plan of action. You have people that support you on that. You've discovered what works, what doesn't work, what needs to be corrected. You've corrected it. It's just like any other facet of life. And another thing that this person wants to do, they need to have a good plan. They need to have fun with it. And they need to persevere with that plan.
I love it. Thank you so much, Daniel. Is there any final things that you'd like to leave for our audience?
Well, this just the three P's. And for your audience, I'm offering a complimentary consultation.
Awesome.
So if you were willing to jump on it, go to the www.eap. That's for emergency planning. www.eap.dan. And we'll get online and do a consultation. Find out what you want to do. What are you looking at accomplishing? And that's the thing to keep in mind. If we don't know everything, so it's good for us to look out sometimes and find someone who does have the information for us, and they can help us down the path that we want to go on.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much, Daniel. Really appreciate your knowledge, your wisdom. And for everybody in the audience, we're going to reach out to you and let you know what that link is again. But I strongly urge you to take advantage of this, because Daniel's experience is really broad and deep, and he can really help you and assist you in awakening that spirit inside of you. Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate your time today.
Well, JB, I thank you, and I appreciate you having me on your show, and I wish you all the best weekend.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Our next speaker today is Judy Wong, an extraordinary international educator, energy accelerator, transformation coach, a consultant, and an international speaker. Now, she's not only a Mindvalley certified life coach and certified hypnotherapist, but she's also a certified practitioner of the Silva method, which I use, by the way. Judy, didn't know that, huh? And the instant miracle method. As a published poet and best-selling author, she brings over 6 decades of experience in the arts, education, and business sectors to her coaching. Her mission is to help her clients raise their fountain of life and embrace the essence of life, living life fully. Her coaching goes beyond the conventional, offering a deeply compassionate and transformative journey towards unlocking your full potential. With Judy, you enter a nurturing space to explore your inner world, letting go of limiting beliefs and surmounting emotional obstacles. She's deeply compassionate and personalized, blending energy work, mindset coaching, practical strategies to create significant transformations. She supports her clients through each step of their journey, celebrating their successes and helping navigate their challenges. So she's got a variety of backgrounds and experience. I had the joy of speaking with her. She's an amazing woman, and she focuses on helping her peers transition from the old to the vibrant light of life. Please welcome Judy Wong. Judy.
Hey.
Hey.
So good to hear you.
You too.
I know. Is this weird? Am I vibrate? Like.
You're vibrating.
Oh my God. How are you today?
Excellent. How about you?
Good. I got my coffee.
Yep. I love it.
Have you noticed what it says? Of your message.
All right. So tell us today, how can we help people find that awakening?
That's a good question. You know, some people think that I'm like the person who's got it all together. But not always. I have had my share of dramas and traumas. Pretty much across the board of what anybody has had. What I learned about 10 years ago was that when you start to tap into yourself and really locate that core light that we all came into with, it becomes a miracle. You know, when we're at our lowest, and we think the wave's crashing, we think there's nothing there. But the light of our life that we into this world with is always there. It's just it got buried alive by life. And you know, it's really amazing when you tap into it and really bring it back. Amazing things happen. The clarity comes in. The visions become real. I can't explain it why. But your health improves exponentially. And honestly, the doctors can't figure out why. Your abundance starts exploding. It is a miraculous thing. But when you think about it, our core light that we came into the world with, and everybody knows it. Everybody knows it's there. You remember when you came into this world, everything was beautiful. All was light. Everything was possible. And that is what is the amazing thing about it. And 10 years ago, when I was hitting bottom again, I out of desperation decided to go outside, and I found that light again, and realized it's been sitting there all damn time. Because listen, I'm in my late 60s. Honest to God. Dorian Gray painting.
There we go. Yeah, I got you.
But it was there. It was there the whole time saying, hey, I'm here. I always had the answer. You just had to ask.
Judy, it's interesting when you were describing that whole process, and I don't know. Do you speak with your hands a lot?
Yeah.
Okay. Because what you did was this: you were talking about going down. See how my hand is, and the feeling of going deep, and things were not going really well, and your hands went like this, and then you said, and then you started to find the light, and your hand turned over. Is that kind of what you're right? Exactly, just like that.
It is. That's exactly what it feels like. I don't know how. It's like I always talk about it like the cocoon.
There you go.
You know, we have our light, And then the world comes and it covers it. And it covers it with stories and lies and false labels. Sometimes they were for good reasons. We were kids. Sometimes they were not. Sometimes we did it for ourselves, for protection. But you know, that was then. This is now.
Love that.
And it's time to crack open the
There we go. There's the opening again, right? So, would you say it's kind of the world does things? The world's going to do what it's going to do, right? People are going to do what they're going to do. How we react to that, we try and control it, right? We try and put things in an order that we can understand, that we can feel comfortable with. And when we start doing these types of things, all of a sudden, that's what our world ends up looking like, right?
Yeah. What I realized, it was almost like a download from my guide that my children are all swimmers. They were all lifeguards. I was a swimmer. We're all ocean babies. And if you ever listen to a lifeguard and you get hit by a wave on the beach, it's funny, but what does a lifeguard tell you? Don't fight the wave. What is our first instinct when the things are fight it, push back. But the thing is, life is like the ocean's wave. If you fight the wave, you drown. So don't fight the wave. Ride it. Because it's not really crashing. You really think about what does a wave do? It's coming down to gather energy and gather life so we can ride even higher. So I always say, don't fight the wave. Ride it. And know something amazing, bigger and better is about to explode higher. And in my experience, it's always happened that way.
That's awesome. So when you were in the depth of your challenges 10 years ago, did you hold on to that belief? Did you rediscover it at that point and come through it? And you're looking, back with retrospection now for that event 10 years ago, or did you actually feel this as you were going through it, and it helped pull you through?
When I was at my first, I literally shut out the world. And just started to dig deep because we're always taught that it's outside of us, right? Find the packages outside. Find it. It's this that's doing it to me, right? But the truth is everything is from the inside out. And so when I went inside, I got calm and easy. And it was sort of strange because the energy And I am an healer. And I've been since I was a little kid. But the energy started percolating and rising like the waves. And it suddenly became more explosive and outrageous. And the bigger it got, the brighter it got, and the easier life became. And I can't explain it, but things started happening. And I realized the bigger and more expansive my life became, the more open I was inside to receive.
Ah, interesting. So was that the thought that your life was bigger than you thought it was, or was it the experience of the life being bigger than you thought it was?
I think it was a combination of both.
Both. Okay.
You know, I talked to when we met. I spent most of my life trying to walk away from it.
Mm.
And when I was young, in my 30s, I ran into a shaman. And I thought she was nuts. She said to me, Stop it. Stop what? She goes, you know, the universe needs you to be here. So just stop it. It's not going to let it happen. And I thought, oh my God. I never thought I was a big person. I never thought anybody cared. Because I didn't grow up with one of those happy hunky-dory type places. And anything I got was from me with no help ever from anybody. So I thought she was nuts. It wasn't until I was almost 60 that I realized I think I get what she meant.
Mm.
It was my life, and everything I learned from all those things that everybody else would consider a major crash and burn.
Mm.
They weren't. They were learning. Like I learned the first time. I did the biggest crash and burn. I was homeless, jobless, and 20 grand. Somebody else's debt. And I thought that was it. And someone told me, you know, through your whole life, people are going to take things away from you. The things. The thing they can never take away from you is you.
Mm.
I didn't quite understand it. But he said, just pick yourself up and get on. And I did. And he was right. All the things that I thought I was fighting for became better things.
Mm. Got it. You said something that was really interesting. That crashing and burning is really a learning. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
So when I was in that place, and I thought, oh my God. And you had to imagine, I had worked my whole life. And I'd been working since I was a little kid. I worked my whole life. I had a home. I had 2 places to live in. I had car, a great company, doing well, traveling all over. And in 24 hours, it was gone. All of it. That's it.
You think?
And I thought, I'm nothing. You know, there was a time I used to think because I was an actress, singer, dancer, right? That was literally all I was. That's what I thought.
Mhm.
Actually, I realized no, I actually have brains. Who knew? I didn't realize, but I was a mensa, and I was really smart, and I could do other things. And when that big crash and burn, I thought that's it. But then I started to think, no, look, you built a company that you ran for 5 years. And you didn't have two nickels to rub together. That's an amazing thing. You have more in you than you realize. Just keep exploring. And that was the first time I realized I was more than I thought I was.
Wow, that's awesome. So if everybody's going to be going through the crashes and burns, that's just the way it is in life. So as you're talking to the thousands of people who are going to be listening to this, what advice would you give them on a daily basis? How would you approach things such that you're looking at these situations as a learning?
I always say when something's happening and you think it's the worst thing in the world, take a break. Step back. Breathe. Let it roll. Just like the water that washes over you. Let it roll. Don't react right away. Just breathe. If you have to walk away, I've done that. Christian, one of my mentors, she says, don't allow yourself to get into a triangle. Step away. And it really does help. Take the moment and say, what is it? And what is it you're trying to tell me? Because it's always a message. Either from inside you, outside you. But there's a message. Every time I crash and burn, I realize there's another message. When I was with being an older mom, seriously, in my late 50s, looking at putting three boys through college and myself into school alone, zero help. I thought this is not gonna happen. How am I going to do this? And yet, I did. I put three amazing young men through school. I put myself back through school. The running gag was which one of us are going to graduate first?
Right, exactly.
And
really,
really, I didn't
I
have
didn't
a
have a
full-time
full-time
job,
job,
and I
and
had
I
no
had
money.
no money.
Mm,
But I
But
did
I
have
did
a
have
roof
a roof
over my
over
head.
my head.
there you go.
Because from
Because
the
from the
first
first
time,
time,
I
I
learned
learned never to
that
have that happen again.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's interesting as you talk about the journey that you've been on and the different crashes and burns that you've had. When we're in our 30s, when we're young, right? And of course, if you're in your 30s now, you're thinking that this is life. This is it. This is where you're at, right? And so you've got to push and struggle and accomplish and do all those things that we do when we're in our 30s. But would you advise them to do something a slightly different way? In retrospect, looking back at your 30s, what would you advise them to do?
When I was in my 30s is when I was almost jobless.
So I guess you would advise them not to do that for sure, right?
I
I
guess
guess
it's
it's
age
age
and
and
time.
time.
Mm-hmm.
I have
I have
learned
learned
probably
probably
the
the
hard
hard way
that
that
life
life
and the
and the
universe
universe
brings
brings
you
you
to
to
where
where
and
and
who you
who you
be
Mm.
at the
at
right
the
time.
right time.
Mm.
We don't
We don't know
that
that it is,
but it
but it
is.
is.
Mm.
You know,
I
I
could
could
regret
regret the
the
first time
I got
I got
married
married
and ended up
and ended up
homeless,
homeless,
but
but
it taught me
it taught me
something.
something.
Mm.
It taught me
It taught me
resilience.
resilience.
I could
I could regret
my
my
second
second
long
marriage.
that
That
almost
almost mentally
destroyed me.
me.
But
But
I wouldn't
I
have
wouldn't
had
have had
the three
the three
amazing
amazing
beings
beings
that are
that are
doing
doing
magic
magic
in the world
in the
now.
world now.
Mm.
Especially
Especially
since
since
literally since I was a little kid, the
the
last thing
thing in the world
I
I
ever
ever
wanted
wanted
was to
was to
ever be
ever be
married
married
and was
and
to
was to
ever have
ever have any
children.
children.
That's interesting. There you go.
So the
So the
universe does
does
guide us
us
in the
in
most
the most
quirkiest
quirkiest
way
way
into the
into
place
the place
we need to
we need
be.
to be.
So despite all, when I think about what happened and how I ended up getting, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
It
It
brought me
brought
to
me
the
to the
place
place
of
of
finally
finally
learning that
that
life
life
was living.
living.
And once I did that, magic happened. My health improved. Yes, you can get older and your health will not decline. It could actually improve. I have been healthy in the last 10 years than I ever was my whole life. Literally. I was deathly ill most of my life. And I literally have not been sick at all, not even with a cold, in over 10 years. So older does not mean you get sicker. And I would not have been finally brought to a place where I could receive the person that was truly the person that was my partner. And that we truly vibrate at the same speed and the same place. And it was almost like when we met for the first time, we said in stereo, I'm finally home. And that would never have happened if I did not go through the journey that I did. So what I say to people is, don't fight the journey. It's a journey. It's an adventure. We worry about the unknown, but let's think about this. If you're a Christian and you get a Christmas present on Christmas morning, do you know what it is? No, but it's exciting, isn't it? Be excited about the unknown. Look to the threads that are there, to the spark, to the light that still is there, no matter how terrible life might seem like it's getting. There's always a spark someplace. And that's what I've learned. If you find your happy place and your patient place, miracles happen. And it doesn't matter who you are. You don't have to be some rich, famous celebrity. You could be an ordinary person. You could be somebody who comes from a very poor background. God knows I did not come from money. Which in a way was a good thing that in the 50s, us ladies were not allowed to do anything but learn to sew and cook and clean. The sewing helped me learn how to sew the clothes that I couldn't afford to buy. But things happen for a reason. And don't fight it, because it only means something amazing, fantastic, abundantly adventurous is just around the corner, waiting for you. And all you need to do is open your eyes, open your heart, grab hold, and enjoy the ride.
That's amazing, Judy. Thank you so much. Holy smokes. What a great way to approach every day, folks, is really to take a look at what Judy's talked about. There's some gems in here. And I'd like to, just kind of review a couple of different things. Don't fight the wave, ride it, right? And understand and know that there's a bigger and better set of circumstances that is about to happen to you. No matter where you are in your life, whether you're younger or older, me, right, older. So whatever your station in life, there's something better happening. Persevere. Allow yourself to see that light and move forward. Thank you, Judy. That was really interesting. I'm really looking forward to applying some of those principles as we start to move forward. Thanks very much.
Yeah, because this we're not old. not even you. Think about this. You got 40 years to go. I used to be a math teacher too. That's a lot of years. So stop when you have a short life. That's BS. We have a very long life. And you never know when it is and no matter how you are or young you are. So stop obsessing about it. Just live your life.
Love it. This is great. Thank you so much, Judy. I appreciate it. Now, our next speaker is uniquely qualified to present at today's summit. Shiraz Baboo is a distinguished figure in the realm of personal development and transformation. He's an award-winning author, an international speaker, and a reality interventionist. Shiraz has dedicated his career to empowering individuals to master their own realities. His innovative approach focuses on helping people overcome challenges that are often rooted in unconscious addictions and struggles, enabling them to lead more fulfilled lives. His seminal work, How to Rewrite Reality, has been a transformative force for countless individuals worldwide. And in this book, Shiraz outlines practical strategies for individuals to become the authors of their own life stories, effectively rewriting their personal narratives to overcome obstacles and achieve their desired outcomes. His expertise is not limited to writing, however. He's also a highly sought-after speaker and interventionist. His workshops and seminars are renowned for their depth and effectiveness, providing participants with the tools they need to initiate significant changes in their lives. He's a unique ability to help individuals see beyond their current circumstances and encourages people to harness their inner strengths and reshape their futures. And his work is a testament to the power of transformation and the human spirit's capacity to triumph over adversity. So please welcome Shiraz Baboo. Shiraz, how are you?
I am. How are you doing?
Excellent, perfect.
I have to say that was probably the best introduction from I've ever heard.
Oh, wonderful. Glad you enjoyed it. Thank you.
All right. So I'm a reality internet, and a lot of people don't know what that is. But the same way you might step up and talk to someone about their alcohol addiction or their drug addiction, what I do is I say, you've got a reality addiction. You're creating a reality that you don't like. It's hurting you, maybe hurting others around you. And we have to get you out of the addiction to where you are. And the thing is, you always want to be addicted to something, like not consciously. Unconsciously, your body and mind try to be addicted to something. And instead of having you addicted to the low end struggles, I would like to get you up to the success, to abundance, to happiness. And that's what I do for people. Whoop.
No, sorry about that. My mic was on mute. That's amazing when you think about it. We always talk about addiction from a negative perspective, that it's something to be avoided at all costs. But it seems like what you're saying really is that we are addicted to our perception of reality, whatever that ends up being. And sometimes we need to look at that from an objective standpoint. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah. I give you an example.
Yeah, please.
I used to get stopped at border. And I thought it was because I was Black. And in fact, I stopped some people, like at a border crossing. I would ask, is this your Black check? And a couple of them admitted, yeah, it's a Black check. So I knew this was just about racism. If I was driving across the Canada-US border, I would get stopped. I would ask questions, flying across borders, even the Eurorail. I was always getting stopped, getting my person searched, my luggage searched. And I had the evidence because I had people admit it that this was all because I was Black. And the worst situation was actually when I was in Spain, that I was pulled out of a crowd for all these tourists and taken by an undercover officer, and he's asked to see my passport. He looks at it and goes, well, you don't have a visa. You're in the country illegally. And I'm like, no, I don't need a visa. Canadians don't need a visa to be in Spain. And he throws me in a paddy wagon. And then he throws another Black guy in, another Black guy in, another Black guy in. Pretty soon there are 10 of us, and we all get taken to jail. And then we have to go through this process of getting strip searched and anal cavity searched. And it was just this horrific time as I'm watching each person come up in front of me and have the clothes taken off and everything, just to put us down, to show us we're less than, to humiliate us. Except that when I got up there, what was amusing was I had forgotten a couple of things, or not been aware of a couple of things. Number one was I was in the best shape of my life. So I was a bodybuilder at the time. And number two was that we were in view of the holding cell with the working girls. So when my clothes came off, that cell just erupted. There was just like, ooh, baby, love it. and
Mr. Popular.
Yep. But then I got the hell out of the country, right? The next day. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to my latest border. And he asks, are you ready to step out of this story? And here's the thing about stories is we all have these stories running. And we have some good stories, like I always find the best parking spots. And we have bad stories, like I get stopped at borders, or no one ever listens to me, or my business doesn't take off, or I'm always sick. And to our unconscious mind, there are no bad stories. There's always good stories. And so when my coach told me that it's just a story, I looked at him, I go, what are you talking about? This isn't a story, it's racism, it's real. And he said, yeah, racism is real, racism is a bad thing, but what you're talking about is a story. And I said, how is it a story? Because if it's a story, there's always something good about it. So for instance, if you aren't making enough money, the story might be, if I make a lot of money, people are going to come up and ask me for money. I don't want that to happen. So your mind says, well, we'll just make sure you don't make the money, then you don't have to worry about that. That's a good thing, problem solved. So I was saying, well, what's the advantage to getting stopped at the borders? I'm getting delayed, I'm getting humiliated, I'm getting frustrated, I'm losing money. And he said, Shiraz, when you tell your border crossing stories to people, you light up. You feed off their emotional reaction to your stories. It feels like love to you. And you can't keep telling the same story because everyone will get bored. So you have to keep getting stopped at borders so that you can keep getting your fix of love. You're addicted to that fix of love that comes after the struggle. I was just like, oh my God.
Explode, right?
Yeah. So I made a decision. I'm not going to get love from people from my first piece. I'm going to get it from successes. And I would celebrate my success, my friends. I'm going to have people that are creating success, that are better in the life. And when I did that, I stopped orders. Just one way, because I didn't need it anymore. I was addicted to something else.
That's amazing. Okay. I've had some similar experiences, not to the same degree that you've had, obviously. After 9/11, I had big bushy beard and curly hair and got stopped at the airport and had something similar taken for me as well, because I just had a look, and the look for them said, terrorist. And so I could have walked through that same scenario that you did. But the reality ends up being what other people are going to think and say and do and what have you is what they're going to think and say and do. You can't control that. But what's interesting about what you said is it's how you decided that really what you were looking for wasn't, the negative component of racism and even being right. It was the fact that you wanted the love and the connection with people when you were telling the story.
Mm-hmm.
That's a completely different way of looking at things. And most people can't make that distinction. So you had that aha moment. And how has that aha moment affected everything that you do subsequently?
Everything is an so if there's something constantly coming up in my life, I know there's an addiction there. If I'm constantly having money problems, it's an addiction. If I'm sick, there's an addiction. So I use those patterns to determine where there's an issue and get out the addiction. So now I create new addictions. One of my addictions is that everything always works out for me. And it's funny because I see everything always working out for me. And if something doesn't work out for me, I'm like, that's okay, because it'll work out for me. And then somehow it turns itself around and works out for me. And it's just a cool thing. Most people don't get this because addiction, reality addiction, as I call it, doesn't show up as, oh, I need this to happen. If, for instance, you're not getting enough clients in your business, it shows up as a client missed an appointment, or someone decides not to work with you, or your technology fails, or however it shows. It looks real and it looks physical, but you're creating it all. And while you say you can't get people to think and feel a certain ways, you can. Because if I couldn't, I'd still be getting stopped at borders. It's just that you're not doing it consciously. It's all the energy of who you are is affecting everything around you. And it's causing results to show up. It's causing certain people to show up versus other people. Here's the thing. Here's the way I really got this is I didn't know there were non-white customs agents until I got out of the addiction, because I was unconsciously lining myself up with the white ones to ensure racism so I'd have a nice story.
Wow.
Right.
Wow. What a great observation, though, when you think about it. Talk about awareness and an intention to be self-aware are kind of the two things that seems like are the beginnings of understanding what your reality addiction is.
Yep. And so these cases, instead of asking, why is this always happening to me? You want to ask, why do I want this to happen to me? And that reframe can cause the answers to come up, bubble up from your subconscious mind into your conscious mind. You're like, oh crap, it's this. This is what I get. And oftentimes it's to avoid negative emotions. Sometimes it's to get that fix of positive emotions, but more often it's to avoid negative emotions. And the two emotions your unconscious mind tries to avoid the most are guilt and shame.
Really interesting. Awesome. So how do you approach someone when they're having a challenge? And you're going to do an intervention. What's the process you would go through with them?
When I work with someone, I can tell when your conscious beliefs match your unconscious beliefs. So whenever I'm talking to someone, I'll look for that shift in their energy. So for instance, someone will say, I'd like to make a lot more money. And I'm like, no, you don't. And then from there, we'll dig down and find out what the stories are that are running in your mind that are making that not true. So it could be that, oh, my mom and dad work so hard to put food on the table and a roof over our head. If I make money easily and quickly, then I feel like I'm shaming them or disrespecting them. And you're not thinking this consciously, but that's what's running unconsciously. So you self-sabotage to make sure you work as hard as they did to make money. And then you get you get out of shame or guilt for what you're feeling for them. And then you also get in a little bit of addictive pride. And you get hooked on that pride addiction that you're doing this for your parents, but you don't realize any of that is happening. So once we get to a story, it's a really simple process. I say, well, here's a story. Let's make sure that you acknowledge that's going on. And I say, are you willing to step out of that story? And if you say yes and you mean it, then it shifts right in that moment. And I've had people's lives shift in as little as 5 minutes.
Now you're talking essentially now we're going through all kinds of different things with our microphones today, so sorry about that. What you're talking about is something that's fundamentally different about how you approach life and how life exists than what we traditionally think about. We think that there's something that you have to struggle through and go through a long period of time, and I can't even remember what it is, the 10,000 hours that it takes to do something. Sometimes you can do it in the snap of a finger, right? It's that moment when you understand and acknowledge that this is something that you want to change. And, oh my gosh, I don't really want this, I want that. And in that moment, all of a sudden your reality changes.
Yep. The key is being willing to give up the thing you're addicted to, right? And a lot of people aren't. Because, for instance, let's say people ask you to do something and you want to say no, but you feel guilty for saying no. So the three ways, most popular ways to get out of that guilt is to use the excuse, I can't afford it, I'm too busy, or I'm too sick. But we don't want to lie about it. So you manifest that into your life ahead of the fact so that when you say it, it's true and you don't feel any guilt. And you have to be willing to give up that excuse in order to create a new life. And a lot of people won't do that because they're like, oh no, I'll feel guilty. I'm like, you don't have to. You can just say no and feel great. But you're choosing that if I say no, I'm disappointing people, I'm feeling bad, I should feel guilty. And this gets me out of the guilt.
So essentially your reality distortion, back in the day, I used to work with Apple, and we used to talk about how Steve Jobs had a reality distortion field around him. Because when he would look at things in a specific way, and that was the reality, and everybody could see it and feel it and participate in it. And all of a sudden you would go, yeah, there was this momentum that would happen when he was on stage or when he was with you. Then you would walk away and you would go, well, wait a minute, I don't have that same feeling anymore. What happened? What just happened? And we can create our own reality distortion field. In fact, we do many times for the reason that you just described, right?
Here's a funny thing is when we started this, the summit, we were getting that echo going on. And I just sort of put it out there. It's like, you know what? It'll get resolved by the time I speak. So that's my reality.
There you go. Exactly, right? We got it fixed. Thank you, Shiraz. So tell me, if you're going to talk to somebody specifically today, and they're going through a challenge, what would the process be? Walk me through that for them.
So once you realize what the story is and you make that decision to step out of it, you're going to start to see changes in your life. And people do this all the time. You go to a webinar, a summit, a retreat, and you see your life change. But then after it gets better, you see it start to go back down. That's withdrawal. That's all that is. But we think, oh, it didn't work. Something went wrong. I'm back where I started. When you get that this is withdrawal, you can say, you know what? I'm slipping back. I'm stepping out again. And then I'm slipping back. I'm stepping out again. And you'll see this upward momentum. It may not be smooth, but it'll be upward because you're getting over the addiction. You're getting over the withdrawal. And eventually the withdrawal just goes away and you're addicted to the new reality. But you have the two things there, be willing to go through it. And number two is forgive yourself when you start going to withdrawal, because this isn't just mental, this is physical. Your body is going into physical withdrawal. It's not just the mind, it's the whole mind body that's happening here. And so say, oh, withdrawal, let me get out of it. More withdrawal, let me get out of it. And in that place of forgiveness and loving of yourself, you get bigger, better results.
Wow, profound. So in your travels around the world, would you say that these principles apply no matter where you're at, whatever stage in life you're in, rich, poor, black, white, young, old, doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, it's exactly the same thing. And what you just brought up is an important thing, because just the way I was saying I'd get stopped because I was black, people are saying their stories and they don't even realize it. So I can't get ahead because I'm black. I get treated differently because I'm a woman. I'm not ineligible because I'm this age. The more you say it, and the more you say, "See, here it is, here it is," you're actually stating what your addiction is, and you just don't realize it. It happens to everyone.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. For many years, I've worked for, I would say, a majority of my consulting with female CEOs, and female CEOs, for a variety of reasons, think in a specific way about how they approach problems and craft solutions and what have you. It's interesting to note that we've created all of these segmentations. So there are women's groups that support women. There are, black groups that support blacks. In my case, it's Hispanics that support Hispanics only. And by doing that, it's interesting. We get the chance to have our stories and validate our stories and stay within those stories. Mm-hmm. So the question ends up being, in this world where we're specializing and having micro niches and different special interest groups, how can we take the principles that you're talking about and apply them in a way that enable us to come beyond what these niches are?
You have to keep in mind that you're creating your own reality. So racism exists, sexism exists, ageism exists, all these other isms exist, but they don't have to be in your reality. And when you get that, you will step out of the restrictions and into all sorts of possibilities. And it's just amazing when you get this. I work with, at my high-end program, it's all women leaders, women entrepreneurs, and they just take it to a new level all the time because they're letting go of everything they've been taught that is restricting them. So, for instance, one of my clients, I started working with her in September, and between September and I started in October to December, she did as much in her business as she did January to September. And it was just shifting what was going on with the stories in her head.
Truly, that's an amazing and empowering fact. That's been my experience as well. When you talk to yourself You're actually speaking those words without you even recognizing that you're doing that. And
Absolutely.
you create pictures. Those pictures are in your mind and they go into your subconscious, and all of a sudden, boom, that's it. That ends up being your reality. That's a great story, Shiraz. So as we start thinking about how we can apply that, be aware, right? Understand that you have your own reality addiction. So take a look at what those things are and see if they're serving you well, right? And then be able to go through that process of persevering through the withdrawals so that you can take your next step, right?
Yep, that's it. You got it.
You make it sound so easy.
Here's the thing. It's incredibly simple. It's not easy. If it was easy, everyone would have everything they want. But the method to do it is simple.
Love it. Shiraz, thank you so much. That's truly profound wisdom, what you've discovered, uncovered, and are giving to the world. It's a great gift. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
All right. Now, on to our next speaker, and I just want to say, strap in and get ready for Jillian Dean. You see, our next speaker is an analytical chemist and a biochemist by trade, and is blessed with the ability to speak to you about neuroscience behind the mindset. So we're going to continue our conversation that Shiraz just began. She can teach you how to achieve greater satisfaction in your life by understanding how your thoughts and the neuroplastic nature of the brain can change your life in a very positive way. So today she's going to offer some tools that we can all use to shift our thought patterns. And these tools are designed to help us achieve greater satisfaction in life, both personally and professionally. So let's give a warm welcome to Jillian Dean. Jillian, welcome.
It was really actually well planned that I would go right after Shiraz, because I'm going to I agree with so much of what he was saying. And a lot of what I speak about really piggybacks what he was discussing and about reality. And, the topic of this today is awakening. And I found I kind of went back in time to information I learned a long time ago, but didn't properly apply it. And now it has come back into my life in some very useful ways. And it's really my passion for neuroscience. And sitting around talking with girlfriends, and there's this really big push right now for manifesting and getting in your head and saying, okay, here are my beliefs and affirmations and things. And I enjoy that kind of conversation, but I'm a scientist, so like I'm the skeptic, and I like to sit back and go, oh, you're just gonna like think your way to more money. You're gonna think your way. And it was kind of a slap in the face at one point where I thought, you know what? I need to get back into mindset. And again, like I said, my passion is for neuroscience. And one of the first things that people need to understand is that your brain is a muscle, your brain's an organ, and your brain's main job is collecting data. And just like you would go to the gym and strengthen a muscle, the thoughts that you're putting into your head are strengthening your brain, and they're also directing your brain. And they're telling your brain of all this data that's coming in, you are receiving massive quantities of data that you can't possibly consciously absorb. So your brain says, okay, well, give us some direction. Let us know what data to absorb. And that comes from your thoughts, what you're thinking. So your brain itself, it's amazing. Don't get me wrong, but your brain's kind of stupid. People don't realize your brain doesn't know the difference between reality and non-reality. So it's going to believe whatever you tell it. And depending on how your inner dialogue goes, is really going to be showing up in the outcomes of your life. So, for example, if you are always thinking to yourself, um, I'm a loser. I'm such a loser. Gosh, I'm such a loser. I'm such a loser. If this is your internal dialogue, your brain says, okay, loser, that's what we are. So, what your brain suddenly starts doing is saying, let's collect data to support what we're being told. So now in your life, you're not really paying attention so much to the successes that are happening, but your brain is really going to key into when things don't quite go your way. If you're somebody who says, um, I'm so unattractive. Oh, I wish I was prettier. I wish I had more muscles. I wish, whatever the dialogue. Again, your brain is going to absolutely believe that, and it's going to collect data to support that. And another kind of extension of this, when we really get into the neuroscience, is neuroplasticity. And one of the most amazing and my favorite part about the brain is that we've got this circuitry in the brain. And we essentially have, I always liken it in my talks to sled riding in the snow. When you go down a path in the snow, the first time you go down that path, it may not be super smooth, but if you keep going down that path, it's going to get fast, it's going to be smooth, and it's going to be easy to ride. And your thoughts through the neuroplastic nature of the brain will do the same thing in your brain. If you're constantly thinking, I'm a loser, I'm a loser, I'm a loser, the brain creates a circuit. And it's really easy to slide down that sled pathway. And again, the faster that pathway or that neurocircuitry, the more data your brain's going to collect to support it. Okay, so um, you know, the cool thing about neuroscience, among many cool things, you'll learn I'm a little bit of a nerd, but you can change the neuroplastic nature of your brain. You can change the circuitry in your brain by changing and intentionally directing your thoughts. So when people always say, "Oh, think positively," and my friends and family all call me, they say I'm delusionally positive. I'm writing a book called Delusional Positivity, and the idea is I'm constantly finding the bright side, because when you constantly find the bright side, that's where you actually live. That's your life. To go back to Shiraz, reality is not a minute ago. It's not a minute from now. Your life is actually this moment, and it's composed of the thoughts that you're feeding to your brain. So it's up to you to determine how your life goes. It's up to you to determine if a situation's good or bad. Um, Again, going back to the neuroplastic nature of the brain has no idea if a situation is good or bad. Your thoughts are going to dictate that information to your brain, and then your brain will find data to support it. So, for example, if you're sitting in traffic, I don't think anybody really thinks about traffic as an incredibly positive situation. But if you sit in traffic, number one, there's nothing you can do about it, right? You don't have a helicopter, you're stuck. So being angry about the traffic isn't helping anything. Being anxious about it, the fact that you're going to be late, there's nothing you can do about it. Most of what we worry about, what is it? 90% of what we worry about, we don't have control over, and most of it won't happen anyway. But if you're sitting in traffic and you're perseverating over, oh, this is horrible. I'm miserable. I can't stand this. I hate traffic. Your brain is going to say, okay, well, you're unhappy. This is a terrible situation. So immediately your brain goes to your amygdala, and the amygdala says, okay, this is bad. Let's secrete cortisol. And now all of a sudden, we talk about the mind body connection. It's extremely real. And so now all of a sudden, you told your body this was bad. So your brain is going to tell the rest of your body, hey, we need to respond. This is bad. And you're going to secrete cortisol. And cortisol had some good purposes, and it still does. But the problem is we're constantly stressing ourselves out. We're constantly thinking, doom and gloom. And we're constantly getting the amygdala to fire that part of your brain to say cortisol, 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 which is a neurotransmitter that is meant to really help us respond. It was really meant in caveman days to get us to respond from immediate danger. Traffic's not immediate danger, okay? But we start signaling our body to give that type of response. And you do that over time, and it weakens your immune system. It wears you down physically. And it all started from your thoughts that you told your brain, started from your mindset about a situation when you decided that it was bad. So, for me, listening to my girlfriends talk about manifestation, it was like, oh, shoot, this is mindset. This is neuroplasticity. They're just changing and rewiring their brains to get their brains to collect data differently to support the narrative that they want from their lives. And the girls and I started having really different conversations. And, I'm really also into prayer mindset. And the research is there that when a person is praying, they are really creating new circuits in their brain, and they are really creating a positive situation that the body can respond to very positively. But I do a talk on addiction mindset, the neuroscience of addiction. I do a talk on the neuroscience of prayer, but they all come back to the same fundamentals, and that is understanding that you are in control of your thoughts. Nobody else. You're in control. So you're telling your brain what to collect data on, and you're telling your brain what pathways that you want to solidify in that brain. And then your brain is telling your body how to respond. Now, in traffic, if we go back to the traffic situation, I mean, I will sit in traffic and at first I get grumpy because we do, right? And I'm like, I'm going to be late. And then it's like, okay, I got to release it because there's nothing I can do about it at this point. And what I'll start to do is like, okay, I am grateful that I have been slowed down. I am not in a rush right now. I've been slowed down. I am grateful that I now have a moment, and I'll usually call somebody that I need to catch up with. And I take the opportunity that was initially considered bad, and I say, okay, let's turn this into something good. And then usually by the time I show up to the place that I'm now late for, I'm in a totally different mindset because I just talked to somebody that I care about. I just got in touch with somebody. Like I said, I'm writing a book. So a lot of times if I'm just sitting or driving, I will reflect on, what the next chapter is going to be. I'm doing chapter by chapter. I take a topic, might be anxiety, and I go through a time in my life that I was anxious. I go through the neuroscience of what anxiety is in your brain, and then the physiological, what that reaction in your body does. And then I give tools to combat this. So I can take a really bad situation. This is why they call me delusionally positive. But I can take a really bad situation and find a way to say, how can I make this something positive? And, again, I love the movement that's going on in the world right now. I feel like everybody is becoming more awakened. I feel like people are really open to understanding that your happiness, your success, we all have trials and tribulations. I mean, believe me, my life is not rainbows and bunnies. But when it isn't satisfactory, I've gotten really good at using some techniques to turn it around. I mean, just one example. When I do speaking, I make the audience stand up and I make them smile and I make them fake laugh for 10 seconds. There's really nothing funny. Nobody's actually smiling because something great happened. But at the end of 10 seconds, the brain doesn't know the difference. When you smile, wake up in the morning and smile. Even if you're miserable, wake up in the morning and smile. Your brain doesn't know the difference between a fake smile and a real smile. So what your brain does is it says, smile. Oh, I feel these muscles. I'm getting the trigger from the smile muscles. So your brain says, okay, cool. Something is good. Secrete dopamine. And, the audience will sit down and everybody's kind of and usually by the end of 10 seconds of fake laughing, you're real laughing because you feel ridiculous, right? But everybody sits down and I say, okay, there you go. That was a natural dopamine spike. You didn't need alcohol for it. You didn't need drugs for it. It was just simply a physiological response to a muscular motion where your brain doesn't know the difference between the reality and the non-reality. So there are truly tools that we can all do. They don't cost anything. There's no cost here. It's just an understanding of how your brain works and using it to your advantage. So that's kind of that's where I come from. That's sort of that's my passion. My awakening in life has really been renewing my passion for neuroscience and sharing it with as many people as I possibly can.
I love it, Jillian. That's awesome. You know, it's intriguing because you know, you and Shiraz were speaking similarly
Yeah.
from the same thing, concepts. We live, and I've talked about this in many different forums that I speak in. We live in a world that's really interesting. It's a world that's changing. It's a world that, you know, from political perspective, we live in a divided world because people like to be in their own camps, right?
Mhm.
What's interesting is that what you just said is that your perception is that you're seeing people who are becoming more real, aware of the fact that they can create this connection, this feeling of positiveness, this feeling of being able to bridge whatever it is between people to have a better outcome. Can we, if utilizing some of these techniques and using how the brain works, can we band together, do you think, to bridge those divides, to bring the world together?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely believe that. Fundamentally, we're all the same. We all want to feel a sense of joy and happiness. We are all rooting for our loved ones to live their best life. It doesn't matter what your political background is. It doesn't matter what country you're in. I spoke about prayer earlier. Prayer, for example, it doesn't matter what your religion is. It is the same neuroscience and it's the same reaction. So we're a lot more aligned than we are divided. So to me, you know, I think if we could all, and especially I'm going to use the politics here for a second, but if people could stop for a second when they're in this language in their head of dislike or hate and turn it around just for a second. And like, I know for me, I hate the word hate. Okay. I don't like it. I think it's a very, very strong word. And I think it has very few situations in this world that are strong enough to warrant the word hate. But when we are having thoughts in our mind that really are those hateful types of thought patterns, everybody can stop themselves in their tracks and say, wait a minute, what is this thought pattern, okay, of hating these other people or just thinking these other people are just out of their minds, stupid and idiots and this and that? What part of joy is that bringing to your life? What is that doing in your body? Because I can tell you what it's doing. When you're having negative thoughts and anger towards another group of people, you're releasing cortisol. Okay, it's absolutely 100% physiologically harming you. And this isn't me just saying, hey, everybody get along and love each other. This is science. Um, they can do tests to see what parts of the brain are firing. They'll put you in a functional MRI and they will have you talk about different things. And they can map the brain and say, here's the part of the brain that's being triggered when someone is displaying a very negative, hateful um, thought sequence towards another group of people or things, even. It doesn't even have to be people. And the result is in your body, you're going to secrete cortisol. So, you know, um, to me, I would love to be able to talk to everybody and just say, hey, listen, these thoughts are not only not helping the country, you're actually wearing your body down by wasting time um, separating yourself from other people. And this isn't put your head in the sand and don't pay attention to what's going on in the news and this, that, and the other. But again, your life is the present moment and it's your thoughts. That's your life. That's your reality. And what do you want your present moment to be? Do you want it to be hate or do you want it to be love? Because love is going to secrete dopamine. Hate is going to secrete cortisol, which is going to break down your immune system and take years off your life. So, you know, to me, if you could take it neuroscientifically, um, the world would be a whole lot different if people really understood what their thoughts are doing to them.
That's so intriguing for me because when I speak to different people, uh, their experience is very similar. They'll speak at a very high level and understand, yeah, the brain doesn't understand, what it's doing, so I'm going to feed it a different way, and however, the practicality of how they live their life is inconsistent with understanding that one principle.
Mm.
So it's as if they've decided to get the high not from the dopamine, but they've decided to get the high from the cortisol.
Yeah.
But they feed on that.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes
Yeah.
their addiction.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. And it goes back to what Shiraz was saying. It's they've created that's their story, and that's what feeds them. And I think for a lot of people, one of the other things our caveman brain or limbic system really needs is a sense of community. And so unfortunately, we have a lot of people who found a real sense of community in a very negative um, outlet. And you're exactly right. It does feed like an addiction because when some of these things are said, the other person is feeding them back and agreeing with them. And even though they're steeped in a cortisol pathway, there's also a dopamine side of that when somebody's like, yeah, I hate them too, or I think they're idiots, things like that. So um, they are getting a dopamine spike, but the anger side of it is providing cortisol that is just in the long run not going to put them um, physiologically into a good spot.
Yeah, that's the really intriguing part of. My mission is to bring people together, right?
Me
It's
too.
one of
I
the
agree.
reasons
Couldn't
the
agree more.
speakers talk exists. It's why you're here, and some of the other things that we're
Mhm.
trying to do. And the challenge always is to find ways to connect to people, to show them that those negative activities don't necessarily serve them today, but we can give them something bigger, better to look towards that gives them that dopamine in a different way. Would you say that that's probably a good way of moving people
Framing
away
it.
from that type of
Yeah.
thinking and behaving to a way that's more connective to the rest of the world?
Yeah, I mean, I would absolutely agree. And I think what you often find with people who really get on one polar opposite or of another on any topic. I'm not saying just politics, anything like that. One of the things that neuroscience has really shown is that emotional regulation is the most healthy thing for your body. And what this means is it's basically like you have pleasure pain receptors. They're actually in the same part of your brain, and your body really wants to remain level. So if you take drugs or alcohol to get a really high, that's unnatural for your body. The problem is your body's saying, I want to even it out. So it's going to give you a really low to try to even that out. Okay. People who get really, really angry, uh, it's going to take a lot more energy to bring that back to stable. But the more you can remain in that middle, that emotionally regulated space, the better your physiology will be. So there's a great book that I've read, and it talks about it doesn't say we don't want you to be really, really happy. We like really, really happy, of course, but be really, really happy naturally with natural dopamine spikes. And it says when you get really, really angry, find the tools to find your way from really, really angry to come back down. And a lot of it's perspective, of course, right? And we also know that gratitude is like this superpower. When you're expressing gratitude, your brain can't do anything else. You can't be anxious. Next time you're anxious, just stop what you're doing and think of 5 to 10 things you're grateful for. Okay. And they could be silly things. You might really love your chapstick. I don't know. I'm just, throwing up. But if in the next moment and next time you find yourself anxious or angry, just just do this for me. Okay. Freeze and just say, okay, what am I grateful for? I'm grateful for my kids. I'm grateful for, whatever it is for you. I'm grateful for my health. Silly as they may be, big as they may be, it will 100% change your body chemistry in that moment. And then when you do kind of have to go back to thinking about what you were angry or anxious about, you sort of reset your body chemistry so that when you go back to that, you're not going to be as offset. So the tools are real. The tools are real. They're easy. They don't cost a thing. I do mindset coaching. That does cost a thing, but the tools that you get are free. And I always say, I love this in this day and age where everybody's trying to sell you a pill, they're trying to sell you a workout um, program, something like that. A lot of our destiny, our satisfaction in life really just starts with the thoughts we're feeding to our brain. And if everybody could start taking inventory of the thoughts that they're feeding to their brain, what are your slide pathways? Are they positive or negative? Because, even just, I know I'm going over my time, but just one more thing. Even just like a thinking this, not that, if you're trying to lose weight, let's say, if you wake up in the morning and you say, don't overeat today, don't overeat today, your brain is thinking about overeating. Okay. If you wake up and say, I'm excited to eat well today, I'm excited to um, eat healthy today, things like this, your body actually, your brain will perceive that. If you're having a problem with addiction and you think, don't use today, don't use today, your brain is thinking now about using. Instead, think, it feels great to be sober. It feels great to be sober. It feels great to be sober. That language to your brain is reinforcing something positive. You're secreting dopamine and it's helping you get those cravings off. So it's the language that we use with our brains. They're dumb. Your brain is dumb. It's going to believe everything you tell it. So be careful what you tell it.
Wow. Jillian, thank you so much.
Oh,
This
sure.
has
My
been
pleasure.
extremely powerful.
Thank
Uh,
you.
yeah. And I just wanted to be clear, if somebody does want to get in touch with you, they can go ahead and get in touch with you. We can actually put some information um, in the show notes and on the live stream chat where people can get in touch with you.
And
This is
also, Jillian.speaks on Instagram is an easy
there
way
we
for
go.
me.
Perfect. Thank you.
Jillian.speaks on Instagram. But it's been my pleasure, and I've really enjoyed the speakers thus far as well. So thank you for having me.
A pleasure. Thanks, Jillian. Take care.
You too.
Okay. Well, it's coming up to our final speaker for the morning. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's with great honor that we welcome Blair Kaplan Venables to our stage. She comes from British Columbia. She's a renowned expert in grief and resilience and the visionary founder of the Global Resilience Project. Her profound insights and compassionate approach to resilience have captured the attention of prestigious media outlets such as Forbes, CBC Radio, Entrepreneur, and Thrive Global. Ooh, Thrive Global. Blair's dedication to her field has not gone unnoticed, and as such, she has been recognized as a top grief and resilience expert in the year 2024 by the International Association of Top Professionals, and her influence and leadership have earned her a spot on USA Today's list of the top 10 conscious female leaders to watch. And we're going to look forward to an Apple TV Plus show called My Story, which will feature Blair's inspiring life story. And in that, we're reminded of the power of personal narrative in overcoming adversity. She's not only the host of a popular radical resilience podcast, but also a motivational speaker who has graced stages worldwide, empowering others with her message of strength and perseverance. So please join me in giving a warm welcome to Blair Kaplan Venables, best-selling author and a beacon of hope. Welcome, Blair.
Well, hello. What an introduction, JB.
Woo, right?
Oh, so great to be here.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm looking forward to chatting with you and talking about how we can get that message out there.
I just want to make sure, is my background facing the right way or the wrong way?
You're good. You got it.
Okay.
It's perfect.
Amazing. So hi everyone. I'm Blair Kaplan Venables. I never thought I would be a almost 39-year-old sober, childless, parentless bird watcher living in Kamloops, British Columbia, Canada. But my story took a turn, and I'm the daughter of a man who lived with addiction and a child of divorce. You see, my dad and I were very close. In the 80s and early 90s, he was a diamond dealer, gemologist, very successful at business, using technology to do appraisals, helped create the 84 and 85 Stanley Cup rings. Those diamonds are from him. Unfortunately, someone showed him cocaine. And he got addicted. And his addiction eventually got so bad that he switched to injecting drugs, to smoking crack. And when I was 7 years old, he sold his business, divorced my mother, and left our family without a conversation. I thought my dad stopped loving me. I didn't understand he wasn't well. And so growing up, starting off my life being really close with my dad, to him abandoning me, what I felt, I developed some mental health struggles and hate and abandonment issues. And I carried that with me as I grew up. And so I went to school for public relations, and social media marketing wasn't a thing at this time, but my professional career, is in the world of social media marketing and public relations. I finished school and I worked for a company called Lululemon. They helped, they promoted me. I moved across the country, Canada. So from Winnipeg, Manitoba to Edmonton, Alberta, to British Columbia. And the reason this is important is because I don't know if they still do this, but when I was there, they really supported the personal and professional development of the people who had goals within the organization. And they sent me to this weekend forum called the Landmark Forum. I didn't really care like that I was going to grow my brain. I was in my early 20s, but I was excited for a free trip. And in my early 20s, here at this forum, I was given the tools I needed to forgive my dad and accept him for who he was. And I'll never forget the conversation I had with him. And I basically said, I'm sorry I ever wanted you to die, and I love you, and I'll accept you for who you are. Whatever relationship you can give me, I will accept. I love you. I want you in my life. And from that moment on, my father was in my life. He was in a lot of people's lives. He began his journey towards sobriety, in the harm reduction route. And at this time he lived in Winnipeg, Manitoba, so the middle of Canada, and I was living in Vancouver on the West Coast in British Columbia, and eventually I moved to a Whistler, which is a mountain town, and my dad started to come visit me, and he got to be more involved in my life, and I got to know him. It was really cool, and he got to do things like I never thought I'd ever have an experience doing, like walking me down the aisle at my wedding. But at the end of 2018, we learned he was terminally ill. And I felt robbed. Like my dad was going to be taken away from me. I finally have him back in my life. Like, how is this fair? And he had COPD and lung cancer. And so I started to do something that people don't usually do. And it was letting the skeletons out of my closet. And I started sharing our story of his addiction, my resilience, my forgiveness, and our resilience. And our story was inspiring people to share their story with us, to fix relationships in their life, to choose sobriety, to get counseling or therapy. And so I said to my father, we have something really special. What if we gather stories of resilience from around the world? And we put them in a book, and we bookend it with your story at the beginning and mine at the end, because our story is helping people. So how can we still help people once you're no longer here? And so we started in March 2019, the Global Resilience Project. And little did I know I would be tested about how resilient I really was, or am. I guess I still am resilient. I'm going to give you a bit of a list of what happened over a few-year period. It sounds like a laundry list because it is, but know that it was extremely traumatic. So while navigating my dad's end of life, my grandfather passed away. On the way home from his funeral on the highway, my husband and I got in a car accident, and I got a concussion. A few months later, my husband almost died. He had a heart attack and quadruple bypass surgery, so open heart surgery. A few months later was the pandemic. This whole time we were trying to get pregnant, we learned that we probably couldn't get pregnant on our own. About a year after the heart attack, we got pregnant on our own without trying, which was a miracle, but we miscarried. 3 weeks from the miscarriage, my father-in-law suddenly died after a 3-week battle with cancer. 3 months later, my mother suddenly died at 62 after a 3-week battle with cancer. And then my dad died the same year as my mom. Same week, like 360 days apart. And I could have given up my mission to help people share their stories of resilience. I wanted to give up, but instead I kept going. I put one foot in front of the other. And during this time, what I realized was that I was strengthening my resilience muscle based on neuroscience, everything that we've been talking about, because there's science behind how you can strengthen this resilience muscle. And so a few months after my dad passed away, the first book came out and became an international bestseller. I realized it wasn't just a book, it was a global movement. We also launched a podcast, a dark humor merchandise line. We also launched, we put on events around the world. We became a social enterprise. We helped open a children's center for at-risk youth in Ghana, Africa. We donate to other organizations. And what we've done is we created a safe space for people to share their stories of resilience so they can heal and to help other people navigate their challenges. And I wasn't sure if we were going to do any more books. But a few months after that book came out, my mom came to me in my dream and she was telling me how proud she was of me. And I was getting ready to put out my second book. So I woke up and I was like, let's do it. And in March, the second book came out. I don't know how to show it here. I can't. It's called Resilient AF. It's on my shirt. And it became an international bestseller. And so we're working on our third book. But the biggest lesson of all this was we have a resilience muscle. We all have one. It's this invisible fiber that runs through everything in us. And like any muscle, it requires exercise to be stronger so that when you need to use it, you have that strength. And that there are things you can do based on science, neuroscience, to strengthen that muscle. And I've been doing some of that well before I even knew my life was going to fall apart. And there's some things that I do every day that are a practice. And there's 5 secrets. And I don't know how much time we have today, but one of them that I want to echo that we just spoke about, gratitude. Gratitude is so important. And I want to kind of play off of what we just talked about with Jillian, but there's a specific practice of gratitude. And if you do it this way, it actually changes the neural pathways in your brain to see the world in a more positive way. And I learned this in 2016 from Sean Acor. He is of the Happiness Advantage. And what he said was that if you practice gratitude at the exact same time every single day, and you do this for at least 21 days, and you list 3 things you're grateful for from the past 24 hours, the neural pathways in your brain get rewired so that you see the world in a more positive way. And I was like, oh, that seems too easy. And so I pulled out my phone. I chose 9 p.m. I set an alarm, called it the gratitude alarm, and it's been going off every single day since 2016. You can do this at any time of the day. You can maybe put it with a ritual, like dinner, like, habit stacking, first thing in the morning. I like to do it at the end of my day. I go to bed early. If I've had a bad day, it forces me to think about 3 things I'm grateful for. And I just want to say how powerful it is. My mom learned she had cancer. She was told, you're going to be fine, Sharon. And then she wasn't feeling good and couldn't breathe. And she went into the hospital and they examined her and they said, your body's covered in tumors. You have 2 weeks left to live. She died 3 days later. The day she went to sleep her final time, me, my sister, and my mom were sitting in her room and we did our gratitude practice. My sister went, I went, and then my mom went. And what she said was, I'm grateful for you, you, and you. And Alana, my sister, and I were like, who's the third you? And she goes, me. And those were some of the last words she spoke in this lifetime. The day my dad passed away, he passed away at sundown on Shabbat, the Sabbath. We're Jewish. It was a really beautiful, very painful, but yet beautiful end to his life. We were all standing around together. That night, we all practiced gratitude. We were grateful my uncle made it from Vancouver into Winnipeg in time. We were grateful my dad was no longer suffering. And we were grateful that we could all be together. So I don't have endless amounts of time, but if you connect with me through the globalresilienceproject.com or blairkaplan.ca, I can share with you further secrets. But the gratitude practice, I just want to say it's the easiest thing you can do. There's always something to be grateful for. If I'm having a terrible day, sometimes I'm grateful the day is over for Advil and my pillow. And so I want to invite you to set a gratitude alarm. And the second one that I'm not going to go too far into is sharing your story. There's neuroscience behind sharing your story. Sharing your story is such a powerful tool. And it could be in a journal. It can be to a therapist or a friend. You can be talking to yourself into a mirror. But if you have a story and you're in a place of a scar, not an open wound in the heart or physically, I want to invite you to share your story with us because we believe every story deserves to get told. Because we want to create that safe space in this world for people to share their stories, to help themselves heal, but to help others navigate their challenges. And our biggest mission here is to empower 88 million people to strengthen their resilience muscle by August 2025. And this last week was absolutely phenomenal. Our episode 3 on the show My Story is officially out on Amazon Prime, Apple TV Plus, and Google Play, which actually tips us over our goals. So this week I achieved that goal a year and a bit early, which is great. I love being early. And I got booked to do a TED Talk in October with the theme being rethinking resilience. So setting goals is important, and I'm here to turn my pain into purpose.
Woo! Well done. Sweet, Blair. That's awesome.
Thank you.
That's if you didn't feel the energy and the power, then you're not awake. Blair, that was completely awesome. So again, if you could mention how people can get in touch with you, I'd really appreciate it, because my experience in dealing with some of the ups and downs and travels and travails of life really come from those couple of things that you just mentioned about. I love the gratitude alarm, but that beyond that, sharing your story, that was the key thing, the key element that has enabled me to be the best JB that I can be. So for those of you who really are seeking that methodology, that way of helping yourself and helping others, this would be a great way to reach out to Blair through her foundation and her project and move forward. Blair, thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, just quickly, if anyone wants to get in touch with me, my PR and social media marketing business, it's blairkaplan.ca. The Global Resilience Project, the website is theglobalresilienceproject.com. You type my name into any search engine, you're going to find me. There's only one Blair Kaplan Venables. And I'm very active on Instagram. Instagram's my favorite. I'm a creative at heart. Well, first, I'm always a creative. And so my username there is Blair from Blairland. So connect with me.
Love it. Okay. Well, I can guarantee that I'll be doing that here in the next 5 minutes, Blair. Thank you very much.
And thank you for having me. What an honor.
Oh, yeah. Well, as we draw a close today on the power of awakening, I want to express my deepest gratitude to each of you for joining us on this transformative journey. Over the course of the event, we've delved into the depths of personal growth, leadership, resilience, and guided by insights and the expertise of all the speakers, from Daniel talking about his 3 Ps, to Judy talking about don't fight the wave, write it, to Shiraz, everybody's reality addiction and how you can address it. Jillian talking about brain is a muscle, and its job is just to acquire data. But guess what? 2 things you can do. You can regulate that emotion, and just do a couple of different fundamental techniques, even if it's fake laughing for 10 seconds. And then finally, from Blair, we all have this resilience muscle, and it needs to be exercised. So practice that gratitude alarm and get that story out into the world. So we've explored these diverse paths towards enlightenment and empowerment. And as we part ways today, I want to remember that the journey of awakening does not end here. The insights and experiences, shared are the seeds planted within you. They're ready to grow and flourish as you apply them to your life. So continue to dream, develop and deliver. Embrace your personal phoenix with moments of rebirth and transformation. So thanks again for your vibrant participation and for choosing to invest this time in yourself and in your journey. Keep the lessons learned close to your heart, and may they guide you towards a future filled with joy, abundance, and success. So goodbye, and may your path be bright and fulfilling. Make each day your masterpiece. Thanks again.